It's October 4th, 2021, and I'm with Richard Hand, and I'm Bill Loughrige, and this is one of the sesquicentennial interviews of people who grew up in Tempe in the 1950s.
Yeah.
So the phone's very sensitive. I think it'll pick you up from over here. We've been cheating, of course, Richard. We've been talking now for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we have,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen each other very long for a long time, so we're going to probably have to cover over some of the same ground. But you grew up in Tempe. Do you remember when you came to Tempe?
Yeah, like I told you, I came to Tempe. I was 3 years old. My mom brought the family out from Illinois while Dad was in the Navy. And we lived in a trailer park. What was that, Normal, or was it McAllister?
Well,
Behind Al.
that was Maple.
No, Maple was the other side of Mill Avenue.
No, Myrtle.
Myrtle. Yeah, there was a trailer court there, Myrtle and Apache Boulevard. And we had the trailer in there for a while. And then we moved over to East Phoenix for a while, and Dad bought property on Wilson Street and built a house. And we moved back there by the time I was in grade school. Started out in the pain training, I guess they called it the home training lab or something. It was a nursery school that pain training school had. And that's where I met Dick Williams.
So you went to the preschool
Yeah.
before kindergarten
Yeah.
at Arizona State College,
Well, then it
which
was,
is over by the Lyceum building.
Yeah, exactly. It was. Yeah, the Lyceum was here. It was around the corner.
Right.
And yeah, that's where I met Dick Williams. He was there too. And my mother got a job at the training school cafeteria. And so after I get out of primary school, I'd wander over to the cafeteria and wait for her to get off work. And my brothers and sister all went to the training school at the time because they were already in grade school.
And your brother and sister are who?
Well, next oldest is David, my sister's Carolyn.
And David is how much older?
David is 4 years older.
So he graduated high school in what year?
He graduated from high school. Let's see, I got it at 58. He graduated in 59. I think he graduated in 55.
Was he in Harry Hallickson's class?
Yeah.
56.
Was it 6? Because they were not there the year you and I started. We started in 56. We graduated grade school in 55.
Right.
We started in high school
55, 56.
55, 56.
57, 58.
So he graduated
in 55.
spring of 55.
So he was a year ahead of Harry.
Was he?
Yes.
Okay.
And Carolyn?
Carolyn is 8 years older than me.
Okay.
And Winfield is 10 years older than me. So like I said, they were already in training school when I was in kindergarten.
But you didn't stay in pain training.
No, when in second grade I transferred over to the Tempe Grammar School.
You don't happen to remember your first and second grade teachers' names, do you?
No, I don't. I don't remember a teacher's name until I got to, I think, fourth grade.
Well, Mrs. Cassidy was a kindergarten teacher, but we know that.
Yeah, I remember that name, but I didn't know that was.
Yeah, that she was that.
What
Okay,
she-
so you went to 10th Street School to graduate
Yeah.
with the other riffraff.
Yeah, the rest of us.
And the rest of us, yeah.
Yeah, so my fourth grade teacher was Miss Scudder. She was single at the time. I don't remember fifth or sixth. My seventh grade teacher was Houston, and Brad Andrews was my eighth grade teacher. And then, of course, you had the same teachers in high school that I had.
Right.
But it was kind of funny. Something that you didn't have, but I did, was since I'd had 3 siblings already gone through, I was getting the same teachers they had, and occasionally one of them would call me David, instead of Richard. And I think I might have got through on our coattails where I didn't do quite as much as I should have to get the grade. But
So did they go to the 10th Street School too, or did they all stay in
no,
Payne
they went
training?
all the way through training school.
Training school.
But they went to the same Tempe Union High.
Okay.
Well, Carolyn and Winfield started when Tempe Union was still on Mill Avenue. Matter of fact, I think they finished school there.
Right.
Because David's class was the first class to graduate from the new high school, if I remember right. I think that was the case.
I don't know the exact years that was the first year to have a graduating class. The first complete graduating class was 1957.
Yeah, but
4 years.
yeah, David's was not a complete class. You're right.
Yeah.
But it was the first class to graduate.
Right. They had closed the old high school.
Yeah.
And the high school burned.
Right.
Well, when I first got here, we're in Las Vegas because that's where you live now. Your sister had found, I guess, for you.
My sister, what?
Your sister had found a clipping from the newspaper.
Oh yeah.
And what was that about?
Need to make you a copy of it. Well, it was a news article that my mother put in the Tempe Daily News, and then had clipped it out. And it was in all of her papers that my sister went through after my mother passed away. And it is just a little news notice, not very long, of my 8th birthday party that included Bill as one of the people that was there. There was about, what, 8 of them there, I guess?
But I'm referred to as Billy.
Billy, well,
And Dick Williams is referred to as Dickie.
Yeah. Well, to the older people at that time, that was
That's
pretty
who we
common.
were. Yeah.
But, you know, I always referred to you as Bill and to him as Dick, except when I talked to my mother, then it was Billy and Dickie, so that she knew who I was talking
Yeah.
about.
Right.
But, yeah, there's some other papers that my sister had that sent to me. I don't know if I still got them even. But one of them was about my mother and helping establish the Republicans Women's Club there at Tempe. And you remember it used to be on the corner of, I think it was 14th and Mill Avenue. Used to be the Women's Club building. You know, and I guess that's where the Republican Women's Club started meeting. I don't know. So she was kind of instrumental in starting that. That was one of the news clippings.
Well, one of the questions, there's a list of questions. I generally just kind of wing it so we can talk about what life was like.
Yeah.
One of the questions he asked, did you have a good time growing up in Tempe?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, you know as well as I do. When what was there, maybe a whole 8,000 people in town. My dad bought this house on Wilson Street on the west side, west side of town. It was a dirt road for a long time. I got a bicycle that was a hand-me-down from my older brother, and the local kid Tommy Heineman was down the street from me. He and I ran around together and played. We used to ride our bicycles from there down to skating rink or the beach, one or the other. Pretty much knew every street in town without looking up, just by the characters of the road. Most of the distance from my house to the beach was dirt road at that time. You know, I'd go over and go down Ash Avenue, down to First Street. But, so yeah, it was, I can still remember on occasion when I came home, I would come back up Mill Avenue past all the bars with that wonderful odor. Perry's Tavern. I don't know if you remember Perry's. That was one of the taverns on Mill Avenue between 4th and 5th, I think.
I do remember the name Perry's, and you're the first one to mention it again. Between 4th and 5th.
On the south or the west side of the street.
Okay.
The sidewalk was full of spalled out areas, so there was big chuck holes about a half-inch deep or something, where one layer of concrete was gone.
Well, there was a little bar on about 2nd Street, 3rd Street by the railroad tracks.
Could have been.
Yeah, and then Perry's was further up.
Yeah, now the block, as my memory, for what it's worth. The block that Perry's was on, 4th and 5th, must have had about 6 bars. Perry's just sticks out in my mind. I don't know why. Maybe it was the name. But yeah, it always had music and stale liquor odor as you rode by. But yeah, Tempe was a great place to grow up, I thought. You know, had a swimming pool all summer long and skating rink, and I remember Tommy and I used to go pick up Coke bottles and go get the deposit on them so we had enough money to go to the swimming pool.
Did you ever catch scorpions and sell them?
No, I didn't. I know a lot of the high school kids used to. Sold them to Dr. Stonky.
This conversation I've had with others, but the other thing that Stonky bought or would give credit for was cats. If you brought him a large cat, because that's what he used to test the serum on.
Well, that and rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
He wanted rattlesnakes.
He did want rattlesnakes too?
Yeah. Because that's where he got the venom to design his serum.
Right.
Was the rattlesnakes and the scorpions.
But he tested it on cats.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but yeah, I can remember going over to the old biology building there at ASU.
And where was that?
Not far from the admin building.
But the admin building
was on College Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what the north-south.
Well, it's Orange and Lemon. Orange is one that runs through the middle of campus.
Okay, then it was the admin building was a corner of College and Orange.
Which corner? The chapel was there on the northwest corner, and the Devil's Den was on the northeast corner.
No, it was on northwest. Well, the new Devil's Den, the original Devil's Den, which was nothing but a Quonset hut or something.
Right.
It was on the northwest.
Yeah, northeast corner.
No, it was on the northwest.
That's where the chapel is.
But in front of it was.
Okay.
It wasn't a Quonset hut. It was almost like a double white trailer.
Right.
But at any rate, the admin building was on the southeast corner.
Okay.
I think it still is, isn't it?
No, that's where the new Devil's Den is, a new activity center.
Oh, okay. Well, it's across from the student union. See, they built that student union while you and I were in high school.
Right.
Which Frank Lloyd Wright designed, and they wouldn't use it. So, but they did use it for the auditorium. But if I remember right, the biology building was on the same side of College Avenue, but west of the admin building. No, east of the admin building.
Okay. Toward the gymnasium.
No, the gymnasium would be east. I'm sorry, south of the admin building.
Okay.
Yeah, because College Avenue was
north-south.
North-south, so it would be south. So it would be on the southwest side of College Avenue.
Okay.
Because I remember going in there, and he'd have his rattlesnakes on display behind a double glass.
Oh, the science building.
The science building, biology science, yeah.
Right.
You go up and rap on the glass and snakes.
Oh, okay. That was further south on the west side. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever go to the Moore Activity Center, where they had the big room for the dances and mirrors on the side? That was more a paint training thing.
No, I didn't.
Paint training school thing. Okay. So you mentioned this trailer park on Myrtle. That's what the street's name is, and that's very near to. Is that my phone or your phone?
That's mine.
That's very near to the. I always worry that these things aren't recording. So that's very near to the area where your newspaper route became that area, right?
Yeah, pretty close. Well, it was across the street from Goodwin Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah, remember Goodwin Stadium was on College.
Right.
And Apache Boulevard.
Right. And then the area where the students lived, with the housing for families.
Yeah.
What'd you call it? Victory Village.
Victory Village, where all the veterans
went.
It was.
Right.
I don't know if it was.
Do you remember Dave Rickards' family's restaurant?
It was right behind the gas station.
Yeah.
Which it would have been north
of Apache.
Just north of the gas station,
Right.
Apache.
And that gas station was owned by Beck. I don't know his first
I don't
name.
know what his first name, George,
Right.
I think, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Okay. And we hung out with Al Beck,
Al Beck.
his son, who was a little older and had a car, and we rode around with him.
Our transportation.
All right, he was our transportation. So what else did you do? You mentioned the roller rink and the swimming pool. Did you participate in a swim team at all?
I did 1 year and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't hit my button, I guess. I don't know.
Well, the swimming pool was something else you worked at later.
Well, later on I did after I got out of high school. When I got out of high school, well, my senior year, the second semester, I went over to ASU and got my water safety instructor, senior life saving, and my WSI, which allowed me to become a lifeguard. And initially I started doing lifeguard for City of Phoenix. And I did that
At
for
which pool?
Perry Park.
32nd Street and Indian
Yeah,
School.
32nd and Thomas. No, further south,
In-
further north of Thomas.
Indian School.
Not quite to Indian School.
Okay, Osborne.
It's up that area, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I worked for them for like 2 years. And then I did a summer for a housing development on Scottsdale Road. Was it Scottsdale Road? I think so. No, that's not right. There was no housing developments. Anyway, what's the one just east of Scottsdale, the next main?
Hayden,
Would have been Hayden?
or Rural Road, Scottsdale Road, and then Hayden.
Yeah.
Miller is in between.
Wasn't quite that far east. But anyway, there was a subdivision there with a swimming pool.
By McDowell.
Yeah. And I did.
That was an early subdivision, yes.
Spent a summer there, and then next year I went to
Tempe
City of
Beach.
Tempe.
I'll go back to Tempe Beach in a minute, but let's go back to Tempe. As you're in 5th and 6th grade, you said you had a paper route for the Tempe Daily News.
I had a paper out for Tempe Daily News probably starting the 5th or 6th grade. I don't remember exactly.
And
I had the area mostly Maple and Ash over there, Virginia.
Right.
Lived over there.
Right.
Bob Ziegler lived over there.
yeah,
Al, can't think of his name. He was the shop teacher at the high school. Can't think of his name right off the top of my head. But and a couple other teachers. I don't remember how far.
was the grapefruit was that factory on your route?
The cannery was still there. No, I didn't go that far north.
Okay,
That's what I'm trying to remember is where I started. I must have started about 8th Street, not 8th Street, that was the cannery. 10th was the school, I don't know, 9th or 10th Street.
okay.
And I had those two,
Both sides of the railroad tracks. Farmers?
no,
No, you were east of the tracks.
I was east of the tracks. Farmers was the first one west.
Okay.
So I had that for a couple of years, 3 years, I don't know. And then in the 8th grade, I got a paper route for the Arizona Republic. And I had that all the way through my junior year. Somewhere in my senior year, I quit doing that.
And that paper route was along on Arizona State campus?
That was the ASU, ASC campus at the time.
Right.
All of the dorms, all of the admin, a couple of admin buildings, the main admin and one other one, I don't remember. But all of the dorms got one. And then I went up and I had all of Victory Village. And then as it started developing south along College Avenue, I started picking up those side streets up that direction.
Can you identify the dorms? Remember where they were
Oh,
and what they were
golly.
called?
Well, you had East Hall and West Hall.
Right. East Hall was for men. That was on the east side of College.
East and West were back to back. One was on College, and the other one was the next street.
Yeah, east, west, north, and south.
Yeah. And those, two of those were for women.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I thought they all were, but
Well, the three of them on the west side of College were for women.
yeah,
The one on the east side of College was for men.
yeah. You're thinking of Hayden. Hayden Hall was way down toward
Apache. Toward Apache.
Almost to Apache.
I don't know, was that men or women?
That was men.
Okay.
And
Well, I know that the one on the east side was close to the Payne Training School, and that was men.
yeah. And you had two of them down there by Apache. One was Hayden, which was the older one. It was
Right.
only a two-story. And then there was the newer one, which was between Hayden and Apache Boulevard. It was either a 3 or a 4-story
Right.
red brick.
The new one.
Yeah, that was the new one.
Are they still there? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. I haven't been to that area for so long. They may. Well, let's see. They built the new activity center, I guess I'd call it, where Goodman Stadium used to be.
Right.
Big activity athletic center.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they hold a national racquetball tournament there every year. Craig and I went there one year just to watch. We didn't play.
How about the businesses on Main Street, on Mill? Boston Store?
Oh, there was Boston Store. There was Miller's Jewelry Store, which was next door to the Daily News.
Where was the Daily News?
It was on the corner of, what was it, 6th, I think.
On the east or west side of Mill?
West side.
That's what I remember.
Southwest.
And you got your papers on the back side.
Yep.
Then you had to sit there and
Yep.
catch them off the folder.
Yeah, I got a scar there.
From the folder?
Yeah. Caught my Levi jacket and pulled me up into the gear and
Ah.
stalled the machine.
Do you remember looking for ink lice?
Nope.
With the linotype guys would bring you in there and pull the type apart and then squish it, let it squish together and squirt the ink up at you?
No, I don't remember doing that.
Okay. But you did, so we picked it. I remember picking papers up on the west side of Mill Avenue in the alley,
Yeah, that was it. That was the Daily News.
and then they moved across the street to the northeast corner
Yeah,
of.
that was long after I.
Yeah, we were done with that. Okay.
So
How about the Dairy Queen? You remember where the Dairy Queen
Dairy
was?
Queen was up at the corner of 10th and Mill.
Well, that's where it moved to. It used to be in the corner of 6th Street and the alley,
Yeah.
on the alley behind the Shell station.
I probably didn't.
Okay,
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, behind the Richfield station.
right.
No, was it Richfield or the Shell?
No, Richfield was the next one down, which
was
was
the
the
Shell
Shell
station.
station. How about did you go to the movie theater much?
Station? That was across the street.
Yeah, did you go to the theater?
Oh yeah. My brother. Do you remember in restaurant napkin holders there was a little ad?
Yes,
They called them nap ads.
yes.
My brother used to put those in, and I used to help him occasionally. And so the manager would let me in to the movies free. And yeah, I used to go there quite a bit. Well, before that, when I was still a kid, that was one other thing that Tommy and I would do on Saturday. We'd go down to the movies, you know, to see the Cowboy cereal.
How about Upton's, the candy store?
Didn't hear you.
Upton's,
Oh yeah, Upton's was
right next door.
next door, and then on the corner was Laird's Pharmacy. Hugh Laird was 2 years ahead of me, I think. Was he 2 or 3 years ahead of us? He was just, because he was still in high school when we were.
Yes, yeah. Well, we were freshmen. He broke up with Myrna Tucker. That was
Yeah.
his girlfriend, and Myrna Tucker picked me up as her boyfriend as a freshman. She was a senior, so she took me to all the
You were a
dances.
stand-in, huh?
I was a stand-in. She was trying to make him jealous, I guess. I don't know how that
Could
worked
be.
out.
Who
But
knows?
yeah, that was Hugh Laird.
Yeah.
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 Where did you get your haircut?
Well, next door to Upton's wasn't that the Boston store?
The Boston store was on the opposite side of the
That was
street.
some
was
kind of a 10,
Five and dime.
five and dime store right there.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. It's
Sprouse Reeds.
Was it a Sprouse Fritz?
I think so.
Okay,
I think so.
yeah.
I
And
was-
then there was Tempe Drug on the corner of 6th Street,
Yeah,
and the bank was across the street, First National Bank.
yeah. I'm trying to think of it.
But these are just businesses that we went by as kids.
Yeah. Well, the Shell station by the Dairy Queen was where my dad always bought gas.
Ah, okay.
And I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I should know it.
Well, that's where Dan Lansbury worked.
Yeah.
He worked in there. I need to talk to Dan Lansbury
And
too.
then,
But you were a hunter. Did your dad hunt?
huh?
Did your dad hunt, or your brothers?
Not until later years after we got out of high school before
Okay.
we started hunting.
Because
So
Do you-
around the corner from Mill Avenue, I don't know, 7th Street maybe, was Spain's Garage.
Spain's Garage, yes, that was
Dad used
7th
to
Street.
go there for, and on the other side was Dale's welding shop.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to take my bike in there a couple of times when the frame broke.
Ah,
Take it in there and have him weld it up for me.
you were hard on your bikes.
Oh, I was. Well, you know, we jump everything in the world before they built bikes for jumping. So
So where did you get your haircut?
I used to go to Ray's Barber Shop.
Yeah, but where was he?
Well,
When you first remember,
when
where did you first remember getting your first haircut?
Well, my dad used to cut it for a long time.
Okay. And we should mention that your dad was the superintendent of mails for the post
Yeah.
office.
Well, yeah, when Dad started out, you know, you have to back up to about 4th Street, go down Mill Avenue to 4th and turn right for a block. And back in there was, later on, it was the Tempe Bike Shop. But originally that was the post office. Then they moved it up in the same location on Mill Avenue. And then years later, they moved it to the west side of Mill Avenue, and I can't remember the corner.
5th Street.
Was it 5th? Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds right. Yeah,
It's
was
still
5th.
there.
It was 5th Street. You're
It's
right.
still there.
Yeah, and he was superintendent of mail there 23 years before he retired.
Well, the street that you're talking about, that's east of Mill, that curved. Remember that street that curved against the Butte and went north, or went south? Al Beck used to work in the auto parts store that was on that curve.
Off of Mill Avenue that curved.
Yeah, it came from 5th Street down to Mill Avenue, went
Oh,
north.
yeah, it went east.
It went north. Yeah, went north off of 5th Street, and then turned to Mill Avenue. So you come east off of Mill Avenue and turn south
Well,
to go to
the
5th
only
Street.
one I can think of did that was the one that ran across down alongside of the new stadium.
Yeah,
Is that the one you're talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a Napa Auto Parts. Well, there used to be a Safeway down there.
Well, the Safeway was where the police department is. Yeah.
Yeah,
On 5th
right.
Street. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think it was a Napa Auto Parts down
Where
there.
did your family buy groceries?
Safeway mostly. And for small fill-in, not a trip to the big store, on West 8th Street was Dick Lamb's Market.
How far west?
That was between Wilson and Roosevelt on the east side of 8th.
Well, Dick Lamb ultimately ended up at El Rancho.
Yeah, well, before he went to El Rancho, he moved a newer, bigger place at the corner of Roosevelt.
Right. And they also had a store, the Lambs had a store in Mesa too.
Did they?
And El Rancho bought them out.
Yeah,
And then they're both Dick, the old man,
Yeah.
Merle, and Dick, the younger one, both ended up working at the El Rancho Market where we were
I
working.
know it was Merle that had the lamb store on West 8th.
Okay, and I guess Dick must have been at the one in Mesa
Yeah,
because they both ended up as managers working for Gene Moravec.
yeah,
That was the manager because ultimately you ended up working at the El Rancho Market.
yeah.
And did you do anything other than just a carry out?
No.
Did you ever cut produce or work in the
No.
meat market?
No, of course, you know, carry out at closing time, we always had to help clean up the butcher shop
Right.
or whatever, mostly the butcher shop, the display cases.
Well, my first job at El Rancho was when I was 15 years old, working in the meat market, cleaning up the machinery. And then my parents took the summer off and moved to Flagstaff. We camped in Oak Creek Canyon, and so I had to give that job up. And the kid that took it stayed there forever, became a butcher, and
Martin Walling.
Martin Walling, yes, that's him. Yeah.
Yeah, Martin. Martin was a friend. I wouldn't call him a good friend. I mean, he was a car nut.
Yeah.
Like I was, Al was, you were, and he was still messing with cars when I got back out of the Navy. And of course, I lost contact with him a little bit after that, so I didn't know he was still being a butcher. But
Yeah.
yeah, Martin used to, when we'd clean up the meat, he'd strap a couple of steaks to his legs under his pants and take them home.
The other thing that happened in high school, I think, for you, Richard, is that you competed in a driving contest.
Oh, you mean that JC's driving thing? Yeah, I did that.
What happened?
Well, I happened to win that and got a free trip to Washington.
You won the state championship, right?
Yeah, and they gave me a trip to Washington, D.C. for their national, where I didn't do all that well.
Now, who went with you on that
I was
trip?
not used to driving in true
Traffic.
busy city traffic. And it was, I didn't do too good on their road test. But I enjoyed it, had a good time. Got to see the city, a lot of the monuments. So it was good.
A good experience for you, right?
Huh?
It was a good experience.
Oh, yeah. My dad they gave me a check. Here's the money, buy your airline or whatever. My dad took the money and we bought a new car. And he and I and my mother and my sister drove back. Went back through Illinois and saw my grandmother and went back.
Was that a Chevy?
Yep, Chevy Bel Air, that blue and gray one we had.
Yeah, okay.
And so then they got to see City too while I was doing my stuff with them. They went. And then we took the route home through the Blue Ridge Mountains down to Texas to see my older brother in Texas, and then back across West Texas to home. So it was pretty worthwhile.
A great experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm trying to get you up to the time when you were a lifeguard at Tempe.
Well, I started lifeguarding at Tempe. Like I say, that was after high school.
Yes.
See, we graduated in '59, so that'd have to be around '61.
Well, it was before then.
Well, I joined the Navy in '62, and I was thinking, oh no, you're right, because the last job I had before I went in the Navy was that little custom plastics place in Mesa. We were doing, there was, I don't know, about 8 employees was all.
Okay.
And so it'd have to be about 60 then.
And when you were working there at the Tempe Beach, that's what the swimming pool was. Joe Spichelli was the manager.
Joe Spichelli
Was the manager. Who all was?
Marv was there.
Marv Williams.
Marv Williams.
Alex Arredondo.
Yeah, Alex started later. I don't think he was there when I first started, but he was there before I left.
And then
And I'm trying to think of the tall, slim guy.
Lynn Adams.
No. Oh, darn. You know who could tell you right away is Jackie. She would remember who I'm talking about.
So Jackie worked there too?
No, she was on the swim team.
Oh, okay.
She was there a lot of times with Millie,
So who was the girl that was checking the clothes in the synchronized swim teacher?
I don't remember her name. Don't remember.
Come on.
Oh, you don't. I thought you meant before Millie. Yeah, Millie was there, obviously, but I was thinking you meant before that. Yeah, Millie was checking the baskets.
So then what happened? Did you actually dated this girl?
Once.
Is that right? I thought it was more than that.
No, once that I remember.
Huh?
We just went to a movie one time, as I recall.
Yeah, you're just trying to be nice to me.
No, not. Truthfully, that's all I remember, going to one movie. That
Well-
was about the time that you and Al decided you need to rent an apartment
Yes.
with that wonderful Coke machine. Do you remember that Coke machine?
No.
It was like a slot machine. We found out that if you put the quarters in
Oh.
right, it spit out
Oh.
almost all the change that it had.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Well, okay, so now we're in college, right? This is we have graduated from high school,
yep,
and we've run across a guy named Wendell Woodling.
yep.
You remember Wendell?
Wendell,
And Claude Woods
Claude Woods. Well, Claude was
was
high
in our
school.
class, but we was actually that's how we met Wendell was because were you in that same chemistry class?
In high school?
No, in college, a freshman in
No.
college.
I don't think so.
Okay, so Claude
Well,
Woods.
The chemistry class I had in high school or in college, I ended up dropping about halfway through. The professor was the one who wrote the book,
Yes.
Whitehead or something like that.
Yeah. Yes.
And it was in an amphitheater with cast of thousands.
Right.
And I couldn't understand what that guy was teaching.
Well, I couldn't either, and I flunked it.
Oh, I dropped it, so I didn't flunk it.
But Wendell sat next to Claude Woods, and Claude Woods brought Wendell into our circle.
Yeah.
So back to the Tempe Beach, you have met Millie, and I thought for some reason that you were dating Millie, and so I don't feel so bad now about asking her out.
Well, I might have dated her more than once, but I just recall one
Yeah.
time going to the movie.
Yeah,
You know.
okay.
You got to understand, there's a lot of my life, in spite of what I'm telling you right now, that I just kind of went through without paying much attention.
Just
to
in
what was
neutral.
going
just,
on.
we were just, because it was such a great life, growing up in Tempe, it was a good time. I don't remember a bad time
No.
in my life growing
Well,
up in
except maybe
Tempe.
6 weeks exams.
And the final exam,
And the final.
standing at Mrs. Hurley's door to see whether or not I was going to get a diploma.
Yeah.
The guy sitting next to me and didn't get a diploma. He got an empty folder.
Oops.
But at any rate, but it's through you that I met Millie. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have known her except the fact that you had
Hey, who
brought her.
wouldn't want to date Millie?
Yeah,
You're good looking blonde, come on.
it's a match made in heaven. Really
You
was.
know, the one true characteristic that I remember about Millie, and I thought about it when I went to the service, was her unique walk.
Oh yeah. She used to get teased about that in high school. So
Is that
her
right?
dad used to tease her. He was a rascal. Well, you met him and you
Yeah.
know him.
Yeah.
He always used to make the girls cry. But yeah, she had this.
Unique stride.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can still remember doing that.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so also working at the pool was Josie Arredondo at the snack bar.
yeah,
Yeah. So, all right. So after you graduate and you end up in the Navy, you become what is your job in the Navy?
I was a Polaris missile tech on submarines for 6 years. Well, 6 years total service, 4 years on the boat actually.
Yeah.
2 years of tech school and sub school, and then new construction, and 4 years on that, and then 1 year on the subtender in Guam.
And you mentioned Jackie. Ultimately, you married Jackie?
Yeah, when I started dating Jackie, she was, I don't know, a junior, I guess, or senior. When I was already out, I think. Yeah, so I married her in 63, I guess.
So you were in the Navy when you married.
Yeah. I came home from sub school and married her, and then we went back to Virginia for my advanced missile school.
Then you had one child?
We had one after we got out. After we got out of college,
Right.
we had Josh.
Josh. Now, what's Josh doing now?
Josh has got probably 25 years or a little bit more with Salt River Project. He's running the Sanjeros for a long time. That he was actually out driving the ditches and supervising the guys routing all the irrigation. And he liked it. That was his kind of work.
Do they still have the Sun Heralds?
He's moved up to a supervisory position. I don't know exactly what he's doing now. For a while, they actually had him in the office there at the junction right outside of Tempe, at their SRP office. He was in there for a couple of years supervising all of the people in the field.
Okay.
He's moved back out, and he lives out near Wickenburg now.
Well, in our conversations before at lunch, we talked about Bill McSpadden and my uncle Albert.
Yeah.
And Albert married a girl named Verdi Saunders, whose dad was a Sanjero at the Bend, right across from the Kyrene power plant, in that house that was right there on the property. It's, I don't know, they probably still don't do that anymore for have those residences. And the other guy I mentioned, Cal Lash, his dad was a Sanjero over at 19th Avenue.
Yeah, but those guys probably both been retired and or passed.
Oh my gosh, they're long gone.
Before Josh got there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you get out of the Navy and you go back to college.
I went back to school year round, got out in 3 years, and went to work in power plant construction.
But your degree was in?
Electrical engineering.
Okay.
And sad to say,
when you say power plant construction, is generally nuclear power plant?
Nuclear plants, yeah. I found out about a year after I graduated, had I taken one more 3-hour math class, I could have had a minor in math. I didn't realize we had to take that much math in engineering, but we did. So yeah, I went, spent about 25 years in nuclear power plants, running the inspection programs. It was good, interesting. I learned that the thing I liked about it, my senior year in college, we had interviews, obviously, they do everybody. And somebody asked me if I'd go to work for IBM. I interviewed with them. I said, no. And they said, why not? He said, because you have to wear a white or light blue shirt. They dictate what you, I said, I ain't working under those conditions. I can't do that. And I also figured, I really wasn't cut out to sit behind a desk. And so the power plant construction was really enjoyable. I literally ended up learning all of the national code requirements for electrical, mechanical, civil, HVAC, instrumentation, you name it. I had to learn the codes. I became a certified weld inspector, knew the welding codes, the non-destructive examination codes. So it was very interesting. I learned a whole lot. I didn't have to just sit with one thing. It was a good job.
So when did you finally retire and not work anymore? How old were you?
Well, I was working, I did 2 or 3 short jobs, different companies. Then I went to work up in Hanford on the nuclear reservation, and was working for Westinghouse Hanford. And my good buddy went down to Rocky Flats, Colorado, outside of Denver, working CH2M Hill. And he had me come down there and go to work as a senior estimator. So I was down there for about 18 months, and I became a political pawn and got laid off under a political fight between 2 managers. And I was working for one of the 2 managers. So I was laid off there. How old was I? 62, roughly. I don't remember exactly. And then I got a job here in Las Vegas for Yucca Mountain Project. And I worked there for 2 years, and the manager laid me off there for a cause, whatever that means. It was because I pissed him off, actually. And then, so I didn't work for a couple of years. And then my friend who hired me in Colorado called me up and said, he was at that time working in Idaho Falls, still with CH2M Hill. He was working at the Idaho nuclear facility in Idaho Falls, and he said, I was in a meeting the other day, and the QA manager said he needs people, he can't find anybody. And I told him, well, I know somebody. And so he had me call the guy up. Well, it turns out it was Bob, can't think of his last name. Anyway, I had known Bob years ago. We had worked together in the QA world. So he hired me as a consultant. He said, well, I'll need you for 6 to 9 months. I said, oh, that's good. That'll work fine, because basically I was retired by then. And so I went up to Idaho Falls as a consultant, overseeing all the inspection program at one of their suppliers, who was building some really heavy duty process equipment. And after 18 months, not 6 or 9, I finally said, Bob, I'm done. I'm going to bail out on you. And the project had got to the point where I wasn't just leaving them high and dry. And so I came back. I put out feelers, because that job required me, basically what I was doing was commuting from Las Vegas to Idaho Falls. Twice a month I could get an airline $300 round trip, non-stop flight from Idaho Falls to Las Vegas. $150, I'm sorry. Round trip, $150, pretty amazing. So I spent $300 a month flying back and forth. And I got tired of going back and forth. And so I put some feelers out, and I got offered a job in Albuquerque, same kind of thing, and a job here in town at Yucca Mountain, so obviously, or at the test site. So obviously I took the one here in town. I worked another 5 years out at the test site, and then I retired from that. And that's been 4 or 5 years ago.
So you worked up in your mid-70s.
Yeah, I was about 75, if I remember right, when I retired.
That's that healthy living in Tempe when you were growing up.
That's it. That's it. Of course, I maintain that the beer a day doesn't hurt, because, in high school you used to get all those biology specimens and formaldehyde. I figured, well, if that preserved them, it's going to preserve me.
Well, I know. Okay, back to Tempe. You were a track. You competed in track as.
Well, in grade school, I did a lot of track and softball. In high school, I ran on the track team. I guess only 1 year though. I know you remember me doing it.
Well, I was amazed because you were jumping a hurdle that was as tall as you were, basically.
About, yeah. Well, when I graduated from grade school, I remember for a fact I was 4'11".
Yeah.
And I weighed 80 pounds or something like that. I don't remember.
No.
But I remember 4'11" because that's how high I could jump. And then so when we got to high school, you and I both played on a football team.
As a freshman only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started playing freshman football.
Yeah. So what church did you go to?
Which what?
Which church did you go to?
I went to the Tempe Congregational, same one you
And the
did.
preacher was?
Cecil Pryor.
What kind of car did Cecil Pryor drive? Do you remember?
He had a Cadillac, man. Come on. All preachers have Cadillacs.
Do you know where he got that Cadillac from?
I understood that it was always donated to him by a church member.
That's, yeah.
But I don't know who.
I don't know who either. And
And going back to my paper route, when I expanded it, I picked up that area where he lived. He was one of my customers.
oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, those 2 streets that he lived on.
Yeah.
The next one over and the one he was on.
Yeah. Well, he used to live right beside the church, but they,
For a long time.
yeah, the parsonage, and then they bought the house to the south of the alley, tore that down. My dad tore that down, and I still have a table in my house from that old house that came around Cape Horn, and then they put it's a parking lot, and now it's been purchased and going to be developed. They when they remodeled that church in the 1950s, they didn't leave anything standing. They rebuilt new using the materials from the church, but they didn't didn't maintain the building, so it's no longer a historical building, and so that's why they were able to sell it. It's still standing, but yeah, I
So
don't know what they'll do with it eventually.
the last I heard of that church, mutual acquaintance, David Ward was one of the elders.
Deacons or whatever they call them. Yeah,
Yeah, deacon or elder. Or something.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if he's even still alive. Tell you.
Do you remember the 2045 meetings at that? What they call the 2045 Club?
Yeah, but I wasn't part of it.
Well, no, we were kids.
Kids, yeah.
And that's when they have the Christmas program, and Pryor would jingle the bells and come, be Santa Claus.
Right.
And it was a family. It was ages 20. The families were 20 to 45. You aged out at 45.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be a member anymore. But it was the
Yeah,
2020.
of course, when you and I were in school, they had that social hall.
Yes,
You used to have once a month. They had family night dinners.
family night dinner, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember going to the outside movies on the Arizona State College campus?
No.
Okay. They had that arc that's off of what's now University, used to be 8th Street. It's a curved driveway.
What?
They had all those trees in there. They had a couple of cork
Over by
trees.
Old Main.
Yeah, by Old Main. Yeah, that's where they had those theaters.
Yeah.
Do you remember a bar and a barber shop? Well, we talk about barber shops at the corner of College and 8th Street, across the street from the Catholic Church.
Yes. Oh no! Across the street from the Catholic Church was a pharmacy.
The other way, south across the street. Across the street.
Yeah, vaguely I remember it. Yeah.
Okay, but across the street was Dr. Axel and Dr. Westerfeld.
Okay.
Which doctors did you go to when you were a
Dr.
kid?
Payne,
Dr. Payne over at Mill and
5th Street or something.
no, it was Mill and 8th Street.
Yeah.
Is where his offices
No, it
were.
wasn't on 8th. Was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the less traveled streets.
No, it was right there on the corner. That's where Payne, Hughes, and Flynn were there for a while,
Yeah.
and then Flynn moved over behind the fish and chips. Pete's Fish and Chips.
Pete's
He was
Fish
over
and
there, and then he ultimately moved down south of
And
Broadway.
next door to Pete's Fish and Chips was the Spud Nut Shop.
The Spud Nut Shop, right? Okay.
My brother's favorite store.
I'd forgotten about the
Of
Spud
course,
Nut Shop.
before that,
God, I gotta quit.
when I was still early grade school, there was a place there called the Cow Palace.
Yes, on that's what the Dairy Queen became when they moved it to 10th Street.
Yeah.
That's on the alley.
It was right there by next door to Pete's.
Okay.
My uncle worked there for a while.
Ah, okay. So then it moved. The Cow Palace then moved from over off of 6th Street to over there
Mill.
on Mill.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have so much fun doing it. And what's good about this, Richard, is that Josh can hear your voice and hear kids. Does he have children?
Josh has 3 kids. He got 2 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
And the girl's married and she has 3 boys. So
Ah.
I got 3 great grandsons.
Well, these kids can hear your voice eventually if they ever want to. My granddad's, I have his stories on tape. It is so nice to be able to listen to that. We had many childhood activities together, hanging out with Al Beck. I believe Al may not be with us anymore. But do you remember going on a quail hunting trip? For some reason,
You and I don't remember who the third one was, went up.
was that Wendell?
Might have been Wendell. We went up to by the lakes,
Yes.
up toward Apache Lake. I think it was.
We were someplace, God knows where,
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
and you were on the side of that hill
Yep.
shooting quail. My God.
Now, when I lived in Buckeye, while I was working on Palo Verde, my sister-in-law's husband and I went quail hunting, but we went out Apache Junction direction,
Yeah.
south of Apache Junction, actually, in the
Yeah.
desert out there.
Yeah.
And
Flatland.
flatland, that's it. That black dog I told you I had, took her with me, and she spooked a jackrabbit. Now I'm telling you, that was a dead heat run. That dog, every stride was a yelp. It was striving so hard to catch that rabbit. And finally that rabbit made one of its characteristic high-speed left turn through the hedgerows, and the dog lost it. About 5 minutes later, she came trotting back, you know. My brother-in-law, I said, call him brother-in-law, I said, "Aren't you worried about your dog?" I said, "Nothing I can do. She's way over there somewhere, you know, she'll come
They
back."
come back if you just
She
trust
did,
them.
but then she got into the cholla. So I had to get a couple of rocks and start pulling cholla cactus
Yeah.
out of her
Yeah.
nose.
Cholla is not good for dogs, that's for
No.
sure. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, you and I and Wendell, I guess it was Wendell that went quail hunting up there.
Probably driving Wendell's dad's Ford, 55 Ford.
Yeah.
And we took that deer hunting, and he actually put 2 dead deer in that car, drove it through the desert. His dad was not very happy. But, okay. So growing up in Tempe, back again to that,
50, 60.
what was your, what are your thoughts about it? Why was it a good time to grow up in Tempe?
Well, just to be stereotypical, it was kind of the all-American, low crime rate, good for kids. We had a lot of activities. Schools in particular offered a lot of activities for the kids. You and I both were Boy Scouts. The grade school provided a lot of sports. Both Tempe Grammar and Tempe and Payne Training both had large play fields for us. So, you know, we never at a loss for something to do at recess or after school for that matter. And I remember
And you could go anywhere, anytime in the daytime, because you didn't, at supper time you were home eating,
yeah,
right? I mean,
well, it was the kind of town where nobody locked their doors.
yeah,
Well, some people did, but
yeah.
I don't think we ever locked our door.
Well, the problem for us as kids growing up is our parents all knew each other, right? So if we got, did something bad somewhere, somebody's going to see it and call
Well,
our parents.
Yeah, and it was a different mentality for society because you were responsible and your parents were responsible. You got in trouble, they talked to your parents. Nowadays, they don't do that.
Yeah.
Parents, well, my kid wouldn't do that until he ends up in court and gets convicted.
Yeah,
And then they still don't want to believe it.
right.
It was just a different society mentality, which
Yeah.
made it really nice.
Well, Richard, I really enjoy, number one is, I'm sorry we haven't seen more of each other over the years. It's just been a lot of years, because we were great friends during school and hung out together. We did a lot of stuff. I mean, it just was, we were always around each other
Yeah.
up through high school, and then in college, everybody kind of separates and goes their own
Yeah,
way.
you end up
Sometimes we can come back together. Reg Rodriguez and I, we see each other and do quite a bit of things together. Still hunt together.
Yeah, I do. I don't remember what I was doing not too long ago. I was back over in Phoenix in Tempe, and I ran into Dave Richardson again.
Oh my God, Dave
And
Richardson.
I
Yeah.
happened to mention that I'd been over for Millie's service, and he didn't get the word.
Yeah, he
said,
didn't.
Oh man, because
Yeah.
I guess Millie was his kid's teacher,
Yes, and
he was really
his wife taught my daughter.
he was really disappointed that he didn't hear about the service.
I know. You just get tired.
Of course, I happened to hear
If it hadn't been for Jackie, right?
through Jackie was the only reason I did.
Yeah, sure. Well, that was a good service. I really.
Yeah, it was.
I wish we had a videotape of it, but we have the recording of the music and the pictures. But you came up to my daughter and said that you were Richard Hand and
Well, I
her.
was looking for you.
Yeah.
I said, "Where'd your dad go? I can't find him." And she says, "Well, he's right over there." "And you are?" And I said, "Richard." And she says, "No way."
She said, "Shut up," is what she said.
Yeah, I was, "Oh, shut up." I said,
Yeah.
"That's me." I don't think she believed me at first.
Well, okay. I think that have we hung enough dogs here? It's just about an hour. Anything else you'd like to talk about from your memories of Tempe? We didn't. You are the first person I've spoken to, Richard, that remembers the Beck's service station there at the corner of Myrtle and Apache. And Dave Rickert, he was a kid that was our age, or he was a little older than us, but he was in the Pilgrim's Fellowship.
Pilgrim Fellowship. He was 2 years older than we were.
Right. Yeah. And his dad had that restaurant down there.
Right.
I remember he raised so much cane with us because we walked in there with spikes on. David did. We were out playing softball and had our metal spikes on and walked in on his linoleum floor. I don't know if you remember that. He was beside himself.
Our trips to
Pilgrim Fellowship, Pilgrim Playground. Yeah. That was a congregational camp up at Mormon Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was going, if I was going to Pilgrim Playground again or if I was going to Flagstaff, but I made the back road one time up through Payson. You go to Payson, over to Pine, and then north to Mormon Lake.
Right.
And at that time,
it was
Pine
dirt.
Was not much more than a 3 or 4 building junction.
Right.
But it had the best cherry pie a la mode.
Right. I think they probably still do. But that road to Payson was dirt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a dirt road. It was a forest road, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of one of my. I have told this story many, many times. You had become the driving champion in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
And we were coming back from Flagstaff because I think we were visiting Josie Bass. You remember Josie?
Yeah.
I dated her before Millie. And it was snowy. Do you remember this?
Oh, well, no. No, I know what you're talking about. When you took my dad's Mercury.
You were driving.
Yeah, my dad's green Mercury.
Yes.
And we went through
Oak Creek Canyon.
You had to. They didn't have the interstate then.
What were we doing in Flagstaff, though?
Well, we were going to go skiing.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, but we never got there.
Thank God, because I can't ski.
We got to the end of and started the switchback.
The switchbacks, yeah.
And we got, I don't know, 20 yards up that switchback, and it was so icy that we were going nowhere.
Yeah.
So we had to back down.
Right, okay.
And find a place to turn around, and then went home.
But what happened on the way home is that we were driving on this just little, whatever it was, icy, snow-covered, slick road in Oak Creek Canyon, and you said, I bet I could even stop. You don't remember this?
Yeah, probably couldn't.
We did stop, and then we slid off the road. You don't remember this?
No.
This is your 80-year-old lapse of memory.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
The road had a crown in it, and we stopped. We thought because you were doing fine driving down the road, and we just went slid off to the right-hand side of the road.
Of course, you hit the gravel. You can move in the gravel. Well, that's an interesting point.
That happened to me twice. The second time with my boss up on the top of the 666 outside of Alpine.
Yeah.
He says, I think I can stop. I said, don't do it.
Don't.
He did it. It took a snowplow to pull us out of that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine. I have a 1976 TR6 that I bought brand new when I was working at Palo Verde.
Ah, okay.
And that was my daily driver up in Washington State. And on some winters, we would get snow and ice, even though it was
out in the western part. Yeah.
It would hit 100 degrees in the summer.
Yeah.
But in the winter, sometimes it gets snow and ice. Well, one of the roads to get there was a pretty steep down and turn. And then when you got off of that one, there was one more turn with a slight elevation to the bridge over the river. And I was driving my little TR, and those cars then had the handbrake.
Right.
So I pulled it up just enough that it would roll. And I go down that ice, and people are peeling off.
Yeah.
And I go by them, and then we hit the flat, of course, and I could drive. And I got to that one incline area, and I put the left wheels over in the gravel above, and I remember going around that curve and watching some guy's nice new Firebird slide off into the ditch. So yeah, if you aren't careful on that ice,
it'll put you in trouble.
Yep, you could be in trouble.
Well, Richard, they have there's a release so they can use this in the History Museum. I don't have anything with me. I'm going to email you one.
Okay.
If you don't mind, sign it and send it back.
Yeah, for a
And
small
that-
stipend, I will sign it.
Pardon?
For a small stipend, I will sign it.
Okay. All right,
Yeah, just
Richard.
email it to me.
All right, thanks.